Okay, we're going to go ahead and begin our discussion for this afternoon. I would like to extend a warm welcome to everyone who's able to join us. We know that there's a lot of other things you could have been doing on your quarantine Saturday afternoon. Okay, well, maybe you didn't have a whole lot of choices today, depending on where you are in the country. But here in South Florida, where we're just about the epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic, our options are few, and we're being encouraged to stay in as much as we possibly can. But you've been invited to hear our weekly discussion. We have this discussion every Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock on a variety of topics. I'm Jonathan Jones. I'm the research director for the Healthcare Support Association of America. I'm not a medical doctor, and I'd like to try to make that real clear. By the way, today is July the 11th, 2020. But I'm not a medical doctor, but the information that I'm providing is well-researched, documented information. You're more than welcome to any of the references that I'm sharing. It's all just part of public information, and it reflects my personal opinion in many respects. I agree with the information that we've been uncovering. My goal here was not to try to undermine or overturn any portion of the health and medical system, but to help you, the average person just like me, to be able to find a way to navigate around the complexities of the options and choices that are out there. Many times we go to the doctor, and I'll just tell you my own personal experience and go to the doctor. I haven't gone to the doctor too often, but I did go a few years ago. And when I went to see the doctor, he said, well, what would you like for me to do? Is there a prescription you want me to write for you? And I kind of stared in disbelief that the doctor was asking me what I wanted him to do, what prescription I wanted him to write for me. But I was kind of glad he did, because what I wanted to do was confirm that I didn't have any issues in any part of my body. I wanted a prescription for an MRI, for head and abdomen, and I was going to go get the MRI done myself. He wanted to know if there was any other medications that I wanted. Just ask me. He's the doctor who should be telling me what to do. So one of my partners, Dr. Durir Nakuzi, I asked him what was important as a medical doctor. What do you look for? What is it that's important to you and to all doctors as far as having your patients? You know, what's important to you in your patient-doctor relationship? Well, he says one thing there's three things. He said, one is really would like to have my patients, and all doctors want this, we want our patients to be compliant. If we write a prescription for them and tell them that if you're taking an antibiotic and that you should take it, one pill twice a day or every 8 hours or every 6 hours, we'd like for them to do it as we direct them to do. So a compliant patient is important. Another thing is we'd like to have patients who are able to clearly express to us what's going on with them. So we want them mentally and emotionally involved in their care. It's not like going to a veterinarian, not that you would go to a veterinarian, but let's just think about it. Just follow with me. If you're a dog or a cat and you're sick, you're the owner of that animal. All you know is the animal's not behaving the way that it used to behave. An animal can't articulate what's wrong, how it feels, what's different about the way it's working now. But you as a human being, doctors would like for their patients to be able to clearly convey, what's going on with them, observations, changes, etc. And the last thing he said was, we really like our patients to take more responsibility for their health. So I said, what do you mean? He said, well, patients tend to just come to me as a doctor and expect me to have the miraculous solution to their problem. All doctors would really like to have our patients more mentally and emotionally involved in their wellness, doing something themselves, being more proactive about their health. That almost became the mission statement for the Healthcare Support Association of America, because our goal was, again, not to displace your doctor, but to help you to become more mentally and emotionally involved in your own wellness. It's what your doctors want. So hence, our primary function then is to help you help your doctor. So today we're just going to be covering part 3 of our series, Are You Living with Diabetes? And you get a chance to ask a few questions as we go along, and be happy to do my best to try to answer as many of your questions as I can. And I'll give you some guidance as to where you might be able to find answers to your questions if I can't answer them for you. I have a PowerPoint presentation here, so I'm just going to be kind of going through the presentation, and feel free to jot down questions and anything that's not clear, and I'll try to clear that up. Well, when it comes to diabetes, what got me focused or fixated on the subject of diabetes was my own life growing up. I didn't have diabetes, but it wasn't too many years in life that I got to know what it was, because my mom was suffering with diabetes for as long as I can recall. I don't know when her diabetes came on, but I just remember her taking insulin shots all the time. And I remember making sure that we always had to make sure that she had some food in case she went into a low and got into an emergency or a crisis situation. Orange juice or something else, we always had to have it around. I remember seeing my mom give herself shots right in her abdomen or in her thigh. She always had to keep finding new places to give herself these shots. And I'm sure she wanted to teach us kids, how to do it, just in case there was ever an emergency. But, as a kid, you're paranoid of needles. It's the last thing I wanted to do was become more acquainted with one. But, and my wife was the same. Her father had diabetes. So we both lost a parent with it. So, but early in our marriage, we're going back 32 years now, we decided that we didn't want to get diabetes. So early on, we decided it was time for us to start giving serious thought to whatever behavior changes or other habits that we needed to adjust so that we didn't go down the same road, because the thinking then was diabetes was more genetic or environmental. So since we both had it in our families, then we didn't want to get it. So we set out to try to avoid that. So we started studying all kinds of things. We studied herbology, iridology, reflexology, biokinesiology, by the way. Biokinesiology is an interesting field of study. So if you'd like to know a little bit about some of those areas, I'll be happy to answer some of your questions on that too. But in all of our research, a couple of things came through. What we eat plays a huge role in whether or not we come down with diabetes, but emotion also plays a role. And there are toxins and stress, including oxidative stress, that plays a role in coming down with any type of disease. But today our focus is on diabetes and living with diabetes. In our previous 2 discussions, we explored it somewhat in depth, or at least certain segments of the topic in depth. But the picture that you're looking at right now kind of tells a lot of the story. A diabetic is told to be concerned about what they eat. Make sure you eat fresh fruits and vegetables, and be very cautious about that. And on the right, you see, keep track of your blood sugar, test regularly, give yourself injections, and see your doctor. That's the general rule of thumb as far as what diabetics are told to do. But there's more to the story than just that. A lot of diabetics are often shamed into thinking that they're the cause of their diabetes, that they've been eating too many French fries, or they've been eating too much chocolate cake, or they've been making bad choices in life. And I have to admit that as a child, I thought that my mom was the problem, was the reason she had diabetes. That it was really her fault. Why couldn't she avoid, eating, certain foods and do a better job with that? And I remember hearing conversations around my wife's family, also thinking the same thing. My father-in-law was a diabetic. Was a baker, And as a baker, there's a lot of thinking there was that, well, maybe he just needed to, eat less of the foods. Okay, hang on. I got to notice here that there's some static. Now, you folks, if you can't hear me, feel free to interrupt me. So let me just try to shut something down here if we have a problem. I'm going to pause the recording and try to. But I think I left off with my father-in-law. He was a baker, and so his one of his claims to fame was baking. So the family often thought that maybe he was, again, just had no self-control. But let me just reassure you, if you're diabetic now, or you know someone who's a diabetic, it's not always their fault. There's a lot of reasons that they're living with diabetes. And while we're talking about food, this is one of the actual things that sabotages their condition. The food is laden with pesticides and all sorts of toxins. If you go to the grocery store right now and walk through even Whole Foods and make choices that you think are healthy choices, 9 out of 10 of the choices that you'll make, even in Whole Foods, is loaded with pesticides that you don't even know about. It's also been proven that many of them have traces of glyphosate. That's the active ingredient in Roundup. Now, in case you don't know how bad Roundup is for humans, just Google it. Recently, Bayer, the company who now owns the product Roundup, has agreed to a $10 billion settlement for hundreds of cancer cases where they've connected Roundup to all kinds of cancers. One gentleman alone, I think, was awarded more than $1 billion for contracting cancer because of Roundup. What's it got to do with your food? Look at the picture. This is just an illustration. But they take airplanes and fly them over fields, and what they're flying and releasing is Roundup or weed killer. The crops themselves are genetically engineered so that they don't die because of this weed killer being sprayed on them. But the roots are still going into the ground, and the roots are absorbing whatever's in the ground. That's the way plants work. And no matter what scientists tell us, the plants are going to absorb whatever's in the ground. And part of what's in the ground is glyphosate. In some countries in Europe, glyphosate is still banned, but not here in this country. So unless you are savvy enough to know how to choose foods that are not genetically modified, then there's a good chance that every day diabetics are consuming Roundup. It's in the food. And again, you don't take my word for it, just Google it. They found that in 80% of all the grains out there, like Cheerios and Quaker Oats and things like that, that they contain Roundup. The majority of them, you think that those things are safe, they contain Roundup. So the deck is stacked against us. In addition to that, I'll tell you about this in a moment. But the only thing that you have to defend against something like that, any kind of toxins that's going in the body, is the body's own immune system. It's the only thing that we have that defends against it. So you have to have a good working immune system in order to be able to deal with those outside sources of toxins and contaminants going into the body. The immune system must be working properly. Glutathione is one of the most important molecules to a healthy immune system. The Physician's Desk Reference in one article on one natural product listed these items as glutathione deficient conditions. And as you can see, diabetes is on the list of glutathione deficient conditions. What's glutathione? Glutathione binds the toxins that don't belong in the body, adds an H molecule to it, and passes it out of the body as waste. Helps to get rid of it because it simply doesn't belong in the body. Glutathione has the ability to do that. A free radical is trying to do damage inside the body, and that's the last thing you need, is having toxins in your body. But add to the list of things that are creating problems for a diabetic is certain medications. Now, has anyone heard of dexamethasone? As you can see, this was published in the BBC on June 16th, 2020. And they touted it as the first life-saving drug for coronavirus. Sounds exciting, right? Go to your doctor, you have symptoms of coronavirus. What would you ask for if you read an article like this? Can I have some of that dexamethasone or whatever that DEX drug is that you have? I want some of that. If it's helping with coronavirus, you would ask for that. What you don't know, if you don't take the time to research, is that this is a steroid. Is that an area of concern? Because aren't steroids very commonly used? Well, it should be an area of concern for a diabetic, and here's the reason. Look at this article, July the 8th, 2020. Even a few days of steroids may be risky. Even a few days. If you can read fast, look at the first paragraph. One of the things that this steroid can cause, besides cardiovascular disease, is diabetes. It's right there on the list of things that steroids can cause. So while the drug may show promise for coronavirus, it'll turn around and give the person diabetes, potentially. And let me just ask you, does anybody know who are some of the most highest at risk of dying from coronavirus? Are you saying to yourself, diabetics, just go like this? Yeah, they're some of the ones that the highest at risk of dying from COVID-19. So the treatment for the coronavirus will contribute to your elevated risk of dying from it. And there's so many other medications that are contributing to diabetes. This article here said the same thing. They mentioned specifically steroids that have an effect on the body. There's a study done by the National Institute of Health. They're examining the risk of metformin, which is a very common treatment for diabetes, and the risk of pancreatic cancer. So what conclusion are we drawing here, folks? Not only is the risk of having a problem with diabetes high from the food, these are all innocuous sources that a person would least expect would be causing a problem. You know, as a diabetic, you might say to yourself, okay, German chocolate cake could cause a problem for me. Ben or Jerry, whichever one of them, Hog or Daz, whichever one, they might cause a problem for a diabetic. You may say to yourself that certain kinds of foods, right, a Big Mac could create a problem for a diabetic, but you wouldn't say to yourself that an apple or Quaker Oats would create a problem. And you may not even say to yourself that a drug that my doctor would prescribe to me could also be causing a problem for me. But if we dig a little deeper and look at the research, those are some of the very things that can be creating a problem for a diabetic. And part of what a doctor will say is that, well, yeah, we know that these drugs affect the pancreas. My mother-in-law is one of those ones. Her doctor, with my mother-in-law's best interest at heart, she really did think that she was doing my mother-in-law a favor and helping her with some of her sciatic pain or inflammation in her eye from glaucoma. She prescribed a steroid for my mother-in-law. And of course, you just saw the articles yourself. I'll just give you one guess. What did my mother-in-law develop as a result of the good intentions, the best of intentions from her doctor? That's right, she became a diabetic. And the diabetic was a horrible effect on this woman. She was in her 70s, 60s or 70s when she first contracted the diabetes, and dealing with the ravages of it. And in her mind, she saw her husband die from diabetes. So in her mind, she's already playing out the possibility of having her liver cut off like her husband did. But imagine her shock when she found out by the doctor's own admission that the medication is what gave her the diabetes. And so she asked the doctor, she said, why would you do that? And why wouldn't you tell me that there's a risk that I would get diabetes? She said, well, we just didn't think, we thought the other problem was more important than this. So, the old saying, they swapped the witch for the devil. My mother-in-law was so upset with that doctor, and rightly so. The picture that I'm showing you here now is illustrating the interaction between the pancreas and the gut. And the reason I put this here was just to try to help you to understand a couple of things. The pancreas is not just about insulin, folks. There is a huge interaction between the pancreas and your digestive system. So if you're taking a medication that one of the side effects is that it affects the organ in your body called the pancreas, you could be giving yourself an enormous amount of digestive problems as well, or liver problems, or cancer, or any other number of issues. And it's not just because of because of the disease itself. The treatment for the disease also contributes to the disease even more. So studies have shown that the treatment for diabetes does damage to the pancreas. So therefore, it's doing damage to other parts of the body. That's what leads to the inflammation issues. That's what leads to the cardiac issue. That's what leads to the neuropathy. That's what leads to all the other problems that a diabetic will get. It's not the disease itself, it's the side effects of the medication. So my recommendation to all of our clients is to think about what, who was it, Benjamin Franklin that said it? An ounce of prevention, beats a pound of cure. He didn't quite say it that way. I'm just paraphrasing it because that's what's stuck in my mind, that I'd much rather that ounce of prevention rather than trying to deal with curing the problem. Well, this gentleman right here, Dr. Kedar Prasad, I applaud that man. I remember meeting him. It must have been about 5 or 6 years ago. I forgot to put the picture in here so you can see that I met him in Atlanta, Georgia. But what made me interested in Dr. Prasad was that he's, besides being the brilliant man that he is, he had produced a natural product that had a patent for the treatment of diabetes. But these are just some of his accolades that for this brilliant man. He became the world's first radiation PhD, the world's first radiation biologist. No one studying radiation. But because he was in India and he was alive when the atom bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, he concluded that it might be a good idea to develop some kind of a product that would be helpful in combating the effects of radiation, because he saw that a nuclear bomb that could do what it did, that there would be a reason or a benefit to having something that could offset the damage from radiation. So that's what began that's where his research actually began. And he was published more than 250 times. That means as far as a science is concerned, more than 250 different things that other scientists haven't figured out in the world. He's authored 25 books. One of the books he's authored is this one, Fight Diabetes with Vitamins and Antioxidants. So this is just one of his books, and happens to be one of my favorites, by the way. He has another one on cancer, heart disease, and so on. But let's talk about what he accomplished. This is a list of the patents that the product, his discovery, his invention came up with. This is a list of the patents. The bottom one, as you can see, is its purpose is for type 2 diabetes protection. But all the way on the right, micronutrients for treatment of diabetes mellitus. It says type 2 diabetes protection because that's the one that they consider to be reversible, but all diabetics will benefit from his invention, this discovery. Now, I went and searched it to find this patent, and just so you can see a little bit closer exactly what it says there in that bottom right segment, you can see that's it, micronutrients for treatment of diabetes mellitus. And it was October 20th, 2009. And here's the actual patent. I just took and blew up a little segment of the patent. United States issued it, and Dr. Patent is on it. The product at the time was called military micronutrient formula. And we have it today. The formula is in microdaily today. But the government issued a patent for it. And among the things that it is able to do is listed right here. A lot of this I mentioned already in part 1 and part 2 of our discussion, so I'm not going to repeat this in detail. But as you can see, it's formulations for minimizing damage to at least one of cells, organs, and systems within the body. And of course, we're focusing our attention here on the organ, which would be the pancreas, afflicted with diabetes mellitus. So we're not talking about a cell being afflicted with diabetes. We're talking about an organ or a system, right? So back in 2000, the year 2000, when his research began, 16 million people with diabetes, 16 million people. And today, the latest statistics are that there's some 130 million people here in the United States that are diabetic or pre-diabetic. 130 million, that's 1/3 of the population. They are projecting that within the next 4.5 years, 50% of the United States population will have diabetes or be pre-diabetic. So in the year 2000, it was 5.4%. Today, it's 33.33%. In the next 4.5 years, it will be 50%. Why, as the PBS documentary said, why isn't there a war on diabetes? We should be waking up and paying attention to what's going on. Part of what microdaily does is it works to protect the pancreatic beta cells from free radical damage. That's important. Remember that expression, beta cells. That's an important part of the body's ability to be able to detect sugar in the bloodstream and then trigger the pancreas to release a proportionate amount of insulin. But if free radicals have done damage to the beta receptors on the pancreas, or if the immune system has attacked the beta receptors on the pancreas is not aware of sugars in the blood system and is unable to release an appropriate amount of insulin into the bloodstream. That's why it's autoimmune in nature. That's why antioxidants are so effective. His formula, as you can see, is for the purpose of mitigating, if not entirely eliminating, the symptoms of diabetes mellitus. Now, when we talk about symptoms, I had a slide that I wanted to show you, and I'm sorry I couldn't find the picture just before our discussion. Maybe I'll find it by the time we're having our Q&A later on. But it just showed, it was a big circle that showed all the different side effects of diabetes. And just think about what that patent just said. Let's just go back to that screen for 1 second, right? We're talking about an oral formulation for the purpose of mitigating, if not entirely eliminating, the symptoms of diabetes. And by that, we can also extend it out to say the ancillary effects of diabetes. So there are many folks who have indicated that their neuropathy has improved. We know that cardiovascular issues improve. In fact, that's one of the patents for microdaily, is that it benefits pulmonary and heart issues. We also know that circulation, when circulation improves, that means the inflammation around the eyes also improve. Kidney function, all the organs in the body actually improve when a person puts this product microdaily into their body. So the product started out originally called military micronutrient formula. Today it's called microdaily. CoQ10, very powerful antioxidant. It also has N-acetylcysteine in it. And N-acetylcysteine raises lymphocytic glutathione levels. Now, I did have one question come up once, and feel free if you do have some questions now, you're more than welcome to ask them. But I'm going to tell you one question that came up, and it's come up a number of times. N-acetylcysteine, isn't N-acetylcysteine dangerous after an extended period of time? Has anybody been wondering that question? Anyone have that question going through their mind about N-acetylcysteine? Yeah, I know there's at least one or two people on the line that did. So I'm going to give you the answer to the question about whether or not N-acetylcysteine, which raises glutathione and a very important part of microdaily, critical part of microdaily, is it dangerous after an extended period of time? N-acetylcysteine, yes, can be dangerous after a period of time, but you'd have to be consuming the amount that would be equivalent to about what would be in 100 bottles of microdaily every day. No one will be consuming 100 bottles of microdaily every day. So, and the reason why it can happen, just like with any nutrient, vitamin A can be dangerous if you consume too much of it. Vitamin C, well, vitamin C, I don't know if there's any limits to vitamin C, because you can take 100 grams of that, and it's very good for cancer. So let's forget vitamin C. Vitamin D, many of the other vitamins on here, if you take them by the wheelbarrow full, could be dangerous and can cause a problem. Okay, so let's put that in perspective. But there are some individuals who believe that N-acetylcysteine can cause serious problems, and I've checked with scientists and researchers, and it is not harmful. There was one study done by the University of Tennessee like 20-some years ago that indicated glutathione levels can drop to lower than their previous levels after you discontinue taking glutathione, N-acetylcysteine. But other than that, it is not dangerous at all unless you take it in massively high doses for extended periods of time, like years. That's what Dr. Nkuzi said to me. Okay, so that takes care of the 800-pound gorilla in the room, because there are people out there right now, even as we speak, who are trying to discredit microdaily by saying that the reason that this product is not good is because it has N-acetylcysteine in it, and that's simply not true. It's a very safe, natural product. This is the formula that Dr. Prasad came up with next, the MTHFR formula for maximum absorption. This is primarily targeted for individuals who may be from European or Canadian descent, because some of them have a genetic deficiency, specifically a deficiency with the MTHFR gene, where they have a difficulty absorbing certain things, methylating the B vitamins. So for the majority of African Americans, there's no need to use the MTHFR version of it. Now, I put this slide in here just so you folks will be aware that there's another product made by another company, Amerix Bioscience, that is phenomenal as well in supporting your efforts to reduce the impact of diabetes. This product is extracted from bovine colostrum. It's a peptide extracted from bovine colostrum. When you spray it under the tongue, it gets absorbed into the bloodstream, and it reboots the body's immune system. It reboots the immune system. That's what colostrum is good for. So it can tell the body if antibodies were being made that were attacking the beta receptors on the pancreas, this helps to retrain the immune system to stop sending those antibodies that are attacking the immune system. So the immune system could have been confused, right? That's why it's autoimmune. So this corrects the autoimmune issue, right? Whereas microdaily does not target so much in re-educating the immune system, this will target retraining the immune system to stop attacking the beta receptors on the pancreas. So it's a very good product. You can find information about that on amerixbio.com. That's a totally different website that you would have to go to get access to that product. But as far as microdaily is concerned, one of a kind. And if I had a choice, the one thing that I would have in my cabinet and will always have in my cabinet is this product, microdaily. It has been the most amazing and easy to use product that I've ever seen for the immune system. And it works on more systems in the body than any other for the cost, especially for the cost. It has a tremendous amount of benefit especially for its cost. Okay, so let's just pause here for a minute and see if there's any questions about anything that we've asked that you've heard so far. And just unmute your line and let's take your question. There's no question. Janice Bush?
I want to know, can you give me that website with the for the immune stuff you were talking about?
Sure, that's amerixbio.com. See it on the bottom right of the screen? AMERXBIO.com. And it's really inexpensive. It's $50. And you spray three blasts under the tongue once or twice a day. And it's amazing. You do that for the first week. And then after that, you can skip every other day. And then after about a month or so, you can just spray it once a week. Your immune system has been reset. If I start getting a sore throat, I spray one blast to the back of my throat, takes care of it. I had a full-blown flu once. I mean, I know it was viral flu because I got it from a little child that had it. And later that week, the doctor diagnosed the child with viral flu. And unbelievably, this is the only thing I had at the time. I used this, and in 3 days, I was completely symptom-free from viral flu. Normally, that's 2 weeks no matter what. I was symptom-free in 3 days. So it was the most amazing. This combined with microdaily is just the amazing 1-2 punch. The two together, as far as COVID-19, is unbeatable. My opinion, okay?
Now, do you sell this product?
amerixbio.com, yes. That's a product that I sell and promote.
Okay.
Ingrid, please go ahead with your question.
My one question was, what all is microdaily good for? I know we're talking about, diabetes right now, but what other major conditions?
Conditions?
What other major conditions is it good for that it will also assist with? I know you mentioned about heart.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll tell you this, and we have to be real cautious, of course. Okay, so let me just put this in context. By law, we're not allowed to say that any natural product will treat or cure a disease. Okay, so we have to be very, very cautious about that. Because only the government can declare something to be a treatment or cure for a disease. Now, when I mentioned the patent there for diabetes, remember, I read what it said, that it's a patent for the treatment of diabetes. I'm not making a claim that it treats diabetes, but I told you what the name of the patent was. So now, what microdaily does is reduces inflammation. Inflammation is responsible for many diseases in the body, including atherosclerosis, heart disease, the arthritises. Anything with an itis attached to it is inflammatory in nature. So if you put something in there that reduces inflammation, you're improving the symptoms of a condition or making the body work better. You're improving circulation throughout the body when you're putting in antioxidants, major antioxidants like microdaily is. Your circulation is improving. The reason for, take cholesterol, for example. The body produces a cholesterol molecule as a defense against free radicals. Now, what's a free radical? A free radical is a toxin, and it's looking to steal an electron from your cells. And if it can take enough of them from your cells, that cell becomes weak. And if enough weak cells are connected to an organ, that organ becomes weaker. So free radicals is slowly just tearing apart organs in the body. Cholesterol is your natural defense against those free radicals. They like sacrifice themselves. So this free radical molecule goes out there so that the cholesterol molecule goes out there so a free radical can attach itself to it. And then the cholesterol is gone, rather than the organs. Doctors will prescribe cholesterol-lowering drugs. So the cholesterol goes down, And now the free radicals can do whatever they want. So the cholesterol was trying to protect the body, but free radicals now has free reign to do whatever it wants to. Unless you've got a large number of antioxidants in the body, the free radical is just going to create problems. Hence, side effects of cholesterol lowering meds like Lipitor includes things like myopathy, and that's muscle weakness or even muscle death from the waist down. So you can Google it, you can see all of this. I remember meeting a woman up in West Palm Beach. She was sitting in a wheelchair, and she said the doctor put her on Lipitor or Crestor. And not long after she was on that, she was subjected to a wheelchair. She could never walk again. So one of the side effects, she experienced it. And there are a lot of people in that same situation. So, I don't know if we lost Ingrid. The long and the short of it is that when you put this product in your body, you actually have the ability to support every organ in your body. Your body now has more nutrients in it. Your immune system is more empowered. Your body is now more capable of dealing with anything. And in my 35 years of doing research on this kind of thing, this is the one, I believe, that is the most powerful for the money. We're talking about taking 2 capsules. I do believe that there's one other that is in a whole other category, especially when it comes to dealing with things like abnormal cells or cancer. So I do believe there's one other thing that's in a different category, but it costs 4 times the money. It's 4 times more expensive, okay? So for the cost, 80 to 90% of anything that's wrong with a person can improve with just taking microdaily alone, okay? So I hope that that answers Ingrid's question. You still there, Ingrid? I think we lost her. Her line must have dropped out. Okay, any other?
Oh, hi, Jonathan Tressa.
Hi, Tressa.
I have a statement more so than a question. I received a product from Mike Daily Thursday. I can go back and say that I am a type 2 diabetic, and I was recently diagnosed with angiomyolymphoma, which is a kidney disorder. I have a mass of my kidney. It's 8 centimeter. It's very painful. The more you move, the more painful it is. And I've been suffering with this now for a couple of years, not knowing what it was. Long story short, I received the Micro Daily with the CBD oil, and I began taking it Thursday as I received it. I took 2 that afternoon once I received it, and I took 2 that night. This is what happened to me. I got up yesterday morning at 6 a.m., began my day, did my errands, started at 11 o'clock, my grandkids up, went an hour away to South Georgia, to my dad's, did the entire day, swimming pool, everything with the kids, talking about the product, and I just realized as I was cleaning my dad's house, I was in no pain. The inflammation that caused me to walk with a limp for all this time was deceased, even right now as this day. I have my pack, where is it? These are the ones that I've taken since I received them Thursday. I am amazed. I have energy like you won't even believe. My husband can't even believe it. And I'm up again. Today is Saturday morning. I went to bed at 1 a.m. this morning, right back up at 7 a.m. Not because I wanted to get up, but I was woke up by my husband. I was like, what? But y'all know what? I have so much energy. I'm going to take this for life. That's the truth. I wish he was in here. He went outside to let you know. He don't know what it is, but keep doing it. I walked with the limp and my right side was awful. And if anybody know anything about type 2 diabetes, this can happen. I just found it out. And now that the pain is gone, the narcotics I was taking, you think I'm going to take them? No. I am so excited. If anybody haven't tried it, I was very skeptical, but I tried it. I'm glad I did. I would not stop. I even had my dad to try because I read the literature and the videos, to try the CQ10 and the brain booster. And he has clarity like he can't even believe. My dad is 82. He loves the product. And we both just literally began to take it. He had his Wednesday, I got mine Thursday. That's what I want to tell people who didn't know.
Thank you very much, Tressa. We appreciate your being willing to share that story, because I'll be honest with you, I think that folks come to this call more to hear personal stories like yours than they do anything, because that's what really tells the story. Because everyone can claim that they've got science and research behind products, and I can't tell you how many piles of it I've read over the years that all swear they can cure everything from a hangnail to brain cancer.
Yes. But listen, guys, this stuff is amazing. I feel, I forgot to tell you the main thing. When I went to sleep, finally went to sleep, once I rested my tired body, I wasn't hurting, I was tired, long day. I slept so good. Oh my gosh. You just don't even know. I woke up refreshed. I feel so good. Look, I would try it if anybody, I'm not, that's what it did for me. That's gonna tell you my story. I love it. And everybody who know that I've tried it have gotten some, and they tried. I checked with 2 of them today, and they don't feel any pain in their knees today. That's what I want to tell you also. So we're happy.
Let me ask you a question, Tressa. If somebody came along and offered you, say, $100 every month for the rest of your life, if you stopped taking microdaily, how would you react?
I would tell them no. Now, if I had never tried it, maybe, but since I tried it, nope, I'm going to be a lifetime customer.
Well, hold
I
on.
take a lot of medication.
Chris, I'm talking about someone offering you $100 every month for the rest of your life. What if they upped it to $1,000 a month for the rest of your life if you never took microdaily again?
Oh, not to take it?
Yeah, not to take it.
Oh, no. Listen, this is priceless. I wish I'd have known about it earlier. I have not felt this way, I said, in 3 years. And I've had multiple major surgeries. Just recently, I had a major surgery. And I'm thinking it was my back. I had major back surgery. So we always said, oh, it's your back, it's your back, it's your back. It was that kidney. The pain changed, and you know how your body feels. But this inflammation from my leg all the way from my hip, you couldn't even offer me enough money. I got to place another order today because this is amazing. I love sharing it.
Okay. Well, that's an interesting story. Thank you very much, Tressa. And you're not the first person I've ever heard say something like that. I've heard people turn down a lot more money, because when you feel that good, no one can. It's
Oh, I'm sorry. I feel amazing. I mean, everything is just, it's on the up. I don't see anything down in about it. It's wonderful.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you once again. I see a hand up. Judy Kendrick, your question, please.
How you doing?
Very good. Thank you. Go ahead, Judy.
Oh, I wanted to know about sickle cell cancer. A person that has both, there's something that can help them.
They have sickle cell disease and they have cancer?
Yes.
What kind of cancer?
Throat.
Throat cancer?
Yeah. They just about it 2 months ago. He's taken the treatment for when they give you the two things you have to take with
cancer, chemotherapy or radiation?
I can't think of the name, but it's when they use the machine to put something in your body to shrink the tumors.
Okay,
I
so
can't
radiation.
Yeah, that one. And what's the other you got other choice you got?
Chemotherapy.
Okay, he's had both of those together at the same time. And he got where he couldn't eat because of the soreness in the throat. So they put a tube in his stomach so he can keep up his strength. So is there anything that can help him maybe?
There are a couple of things that might help. I would highly recommend that if he's going to take micro daily, it's the least expensive route. If he stopped taking chemo already and has stopped taking the radiation, then he can start taking high doses of micro daily. So I'm talking about like 6 capsules 3 times a day. We call it our 666 protocol. So hit it hard, and you can just open the capsules up and put it right in the feeding tube. But do that 3 times a day would be a good idea. And if funds and the budget is not an issue, and there's some capability as far as finances is concerned, then that other product I was talking about is called DNA 136. Then I put all my chips on that one, to be quite honest with you. But micro daily is very powerful when it comes to things like that. But you've got to take high doses of it. All right, so 6 capsules 3 times a day.
Okay, and the other one is named DNA what?
It's called DNA 136.
136. Okay, well, I'll ask him about it and see what I can do. I hope you can help him.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yes, please go ahead, Alfreda.
Okay, she had mentioned sickle cell anemia, and I have 2 grandsons. They're age 12 and 17 now, and they take micro daily religiously. It's taken me years to get my boys trained that, you know, they absolutely have to have this in order to stay healthy and stay out of the hospital. So, but it does help because micro daily repairs like broken strand DNA, and maybe you could correct me, I'm just using like just common sense. A sickle cell is got to be a broken strand DNA, but I believe that it encourages healthy cell growth for them, and so it's actually saved their life on a couple of occasions, and also help them not have to go through very invasive procedures. Like one time the youngest one, he went in the hospital because anytime they get a cold, they have to go in because a cold could kill them. And so once he got in the hospital, he actually got worse, and his lungs were totally blocked. He had no air sounds. And so I gave them, you know, the product, and the nurse had come in there before, and she could detect no air sounds in his lungs. And she came back an hour later, and she could hear air sounds in his lungs. And I said, well, can you check him again? Because an hour ago, you said you couldn't hear anything. So she did that, and you know, verified that what she said was correct. And then within a half an hour, this real thick, what I thought was mucus, my daughter said it was fatty cells that was clogging up his lungs. And so that started draining out of his nose. And because the next day they were going to go down into his lungs to figure out what was blocking them. And so after I gave him that product, they did not have to do that invasive procedure, because I was really afraid for them to do that. And he got out of the hospital about a day and a half later. So whenever they have episodes, I was talking with my daughter the other day. She said it's usually because they've run out of micro daily, and so she's you know, very quickly she hightails it down to my house to get more for them. So and you know, when you raise glutathione, there's a lot of articles that and with another company, there's even patents that show that raising glutathione will reduce and eliminate tumors in your body. And in Canada, you know, they've even made it they say that doing that is a natural chemotherapy for the body. So it's the safer way to go.
Very good, very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate your sharing that. I'm sure that's going to be very helpful to a lot of folks. Ingrid has come back. You had a follow-up question, Ingrid? Ingrid, you had a question or comment you want to make? Okay, no.
Yes. Hey, Jonathan, this is Yolanda Lewis. How are you?
Go ahead.
You hear me now?
Oh, Ingrid, okay. Get right back to you. 1 second, Yolanda. Go ahead, Ingrid.
Oh, yeah. So with the metformin, I started taking the MD, but should I stop taking the metformin due to the side effects I may be having from it?
That's between you and your doctor. That's where you and your doctor have to talk about things like changing your medication. So it's a completely personal decision on that. We would never recommend anyone stop taking it. And if somebody decides to be so reckless, we say do it gradually and very, very slowly. So never just go cold turkey off anything. But it's best for you to talk to your doctor and work with him. Tell him you'd like to get off a medication, and the doctor will usually work with you and tell you the right way to do it. Okay?
Okay. All right.
Good. Okay, go ahead, Yolanda.
Well, I just had a comment and just want to piggyback on a couple of things. Again, I am Yolanda Lewis, and I do have type 2 diabetes. Someone told me about MicroDaily about a week ago. And of course, the same lady as Tressa, I think, who spoke. I had, gratification as soon as I took the first 2 pills. So I know she's super excited, and it's great to be on this call and definitely to listen to you and share what you're sharing with us about health and talking about the diabetes, because it makes a difference when you're living with it. I can say for me, this is my 2nd week, and I still have that same great energy. I still don't have the pain. Getting up every day and living a different life when you've been diagnosed for 10 years and you didn't have a change, and you see a change. I'm not off of my medicine. I'm still taking everything the same until I go see my doctor, because that is important. But just being on this call with everyone and listening to you, and we're just talking about the topic, is really helping me to think what I want my results to be. I definitely want to get off of all medication, because when you have diabetes, they also, say you have high blood pressure and cholesterol. The 3 of them go together. If anybody have it, they make you take all this medicine. It is definitely not healthy for none of us to be on that, because now you're living off the medicine, and that controls your day. I thank God for MicroDaily, because what it's doing for me is making me change what I eat, how I think, what I do with my day. It makes me to write down when I take my medication. It keeps you on track. So to everyone that's on this call this evening, make sure when you take your medicine, what time it is, if you're using any product, what the time that you take that, so you won't have all your medication, so you can get off of whatever it is. Because when they diagnose you with a disease, that's a diagnosis. It's not what you have. We have to think different. So my whole thing is, I think I talked to someone that said they have a garden in their backyard. We have to eat natural things and things that can complement our body and work on our system. So I thank you so much, Jonathan, and I'm glad that I have become an advocate, and I want to share this with others. So thank you so much.
Very good. No, thank you. Thank you for being willing to share your story, your comments here on this call. And I'd really like to just encourage everybody, if you know someone that you think would benefit from hearing discussions like this, get them here on Fridays, on Saturdays at 4 o'clock. And we have recordings of the previous call. Share one of the links to the previous calls with them and let them hear it. Try to get them to come in the next call. And thank you guys very much for being willing to share your stories on these discussions too. So thank you for doing that. Because there's no reason why we should have to live with and suffer, with these dreaded conditions when there's simple solutions. And by the way, make sure that you drink plenty of water, folks. The right amount of water is half your body weight in ounces. So if a person weighs 150 pounds, you should be drinking 75 ounces of water per day. Okay, 150 pounds, so whatever your weight is, cut it in half. That number in ounces is what you should be drinking every day. That includes water that you get from any other sources. And no coffee, coffee is a deficit. So if you drink a cup of coffee and it's 8 ounces of coffee, you got to add 8 ounces of water because that's dehydrating your body. Caffeine dehydrates you. So don't count water. You got to pay that one back. Go ahead, please. We haven't unmuted yet, Ingrid. Go ahead.
Okay. I wanted to ask on that about water. With like my husband, he started taking it. They are limited as a dialysis patient as to how much fluid intake.
Right. Yeah. A person who's on dialysis has to stick with whatever the doctor says for them. So that's the only exception. When I say drink plenty of water, I'm talking about for normal people. So if you're a normal person and you're trying to detox, because remember what microdata is going to do is grab toxins from everywhere in your body. It's got to give it someplace to go. So if you have water, you're giving those toxins a pathway out. If you don't drink enough water, those toxins are going to go to the weakest part of your body.
Okay. And then how do you monitor how many you should take? Like you told the one lady with her friend with cancer, like 6 tablets 3 times a day. How do you formulate or monitor how many is effective for you in what you're dealing with?
Very good question. Very good question. At the very beginning, I asked that same question. And because this is a natural product, no one can answer that. Now, when I spoke to Dr. Prasad directly, he said, 2 capsules 2 times a day. I said, but what if a person's got, stage 20 cancer and their, legs about to fall off and they got blood coming out their head? 2 capsules 2 times a day. Okay. So see, he's a scientist, pure science. Right. Now, as a practitioner, we have made observations. And observations have told us that a diabetic benefits better if they take 3 capsules twice a day, because it helps them bring their sugar levels down, especially in connection with a meal, and stop it from spiking. So if they take 3, the spike is lower. It doesn't go up as high. And then their fasting sugar levels, when they wake up in the morning, is also lower. Mm-hmm. If they're taking 3 twice a day. If they take 2 twice a day, they get a little bit more of a spike after the meal. So the 3 just brings it down. That's called titrating. Titrating is just by observation, you start to figure out what works better for a person. So taking less has not been good. Sometimes taking more has been better, for a person. If the 3 capsules twice a day isn't helping a diabetic because they're really a brittle diabetic, then they go to 3 capsules 3 times a day with every meal. And then after a while, they can reduce that dosage and start to bring it down. But they got to pay attention to what's going on in their own body. So there is no formula that says that what the right dosage is. Pay attention to how it works for you. Now, when it came to that, the woman there were dealing with the cancer issue, only experience has taught us that if a person is going to go after something as serious as that, they can't play around with it. They gotta hit it hard. That's something you have to go after aggressive. And if they don't get results quickly, the next step is definitely give us a call. Go to healthcaresupport.org and click on the button for support. Healthcaresupport.org, click on the button for support, fill a form out. and we'll put together a custom protocol for you based on how serious your situation, the situation is. But don't wait, don't delay. Do that
Right.
quick. Even if you have to
Can I-
go to,
Do you know about, I wanted to ask you a question about, you know about like with dialysis patients, they have to take a binder with their food?
not familiar with that binder. I'm not familiar with that.
Mm,
But
okay,
they can take the micro daily with their food. I know that. So dialysis or not, they should take it with their food.
because I know they're not advised to take their medication with the binder because it will, I forget what it is that the binder is getting. I forgot.
Okay, well,
But
email me information about the binder, okay?
okay, all right, I will. Thank you.
I'll ask the team about it because
Uganda.
we got doctors and scientists that will know. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, this is Dolores Labatt. I was just making a comment on someone with cancer. I had a young lady that had breast cancer stage 2, and she found that taking 8 of the hydros, she took 8 packages per day of the hydro with her cancer. And she still had the treatment, but she didn't experience any of the things that they look for when people take chemotherapy and radiation. She's a beautician. She was able to get back to work within no time, and she's doing excellent now. She's not taking that, she's taking the capsules now, and she's taking 4 caps a day.
Very good, very good. So the 8 hydro would be basically 4 hydro in the morning and 4 hydro later in the day. So that would be like taking 8 capsules of microdaily in the morning and 8 capsules later in the day. So she took her cancer situation seriously and gave herself nutrients to give herself a fighting chance. Very smart move. Thank you, Dolores, for sharing that.
Sure.
Okay, I don't see any other hands. Oh, no. Lolita Womack has a question or a comment, please.
Yes. What formula would you recommend for gastro constipation issues?
2 capsules twice a day will probably most likely take care of it. There's been some folks who've had major constipation issues, and microdaily by itself has taken care of it. If it does not, then a good bovine colostrum will help. But the microdaily should do it, just 2 capsules twice a day. And drink a lot of water.
Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome. Okay, folks, so I got a few more slides I want to show you to wrap up our discussion. So the question that most people ask at this point, if they're just hearing about this for the first time, is, well, how do I start? And the bottom line is that there's 3 basic categories that everybody falls into. The first category, the person says, well, I think I just need some more information. I just don't know enough. I haven't heard enough yet. I think I need more information. Well, that's real simple. The website that you can go to get more information is healthcaresupport.org. And if you want to submit a question to me or to my team, you can submit your questions there at that website, healthcaresupport.org. And we would encourage you to go back to the person who invited you to this discussion, and they will also provide you with more information, and they too know how to get in touch with me or my team. Okay, so you can take that route. Category 2, let's see if we can get this right, is a person who says, okay, I'm ready, and I want to use the product, and I just want the best price that I can get. And that's very simple. You just, again, talk to the person who invited you to, and they'll help you to get signed up. But what you remember when you go to their website to order the product, you're going to choose what you want to buy right now. So there's a step 1, choose what you want right now. And then there's a step 2 where you set up a subscription to receive it monthly. That's how you get the cheapest price, become a preferred customer. The third category is the person who wants to just do this as a business and maybe earn some side income. And that's fine too. If you want to get involved in the business side of it, it's not a requirement. We don't even encourage it. But if you do, we'll talk with you a little bit after our discussion here today. But and no matter what category you're in, you can get the product for as low as $49.95. That's a pretty decent deal. I can't even believe that it's that cheap. For what $49.95 does, with other products that I found that raise glutathione levels, you'd have to spend at least $150 to do what this $49.95 is doing. And you'd have to go through all kinds of extra steps, mixing instructions and all kinds of things to get what swallowing these 2 capsules twice a day will do for you. So it's the best deal out there, in my personal opinion. But you can choose your own inventory option. And if you want to do the business, $30. I recommend, by the way, if you want to do the business, be thinking about, spending $200. That gets you all the product that you need to start with, and it gets you the business starter pack. So if you are thinking about doing the business, just be thinking about spending $200. That should be your lowest level. But if $200 is completely out of your reach, then you can do the business for as little as $30, $29.95. Okay? But in all cases, get back to the person who invited you to this discussion, and they will invite you. They'll help you fill out the paperwork necessary. So next week, you're invited to come back, and we've had so many questions and so much interest in diabetes. We'll do part 4 of our discussion on diabetes next week. So if anyone is interested in diabetes, but by the way, there's no limit to the number of discussions on diabetes, because the number of different directions that diabetes goes in is almost limitless. So, because we didn't get a chance to talk as much about the other areas that do concern you today as I had hoped to, but next week we'll try to target more of those other areas. So part 4 will cover next week in our series on, are you living with diabetes? So invite someone that you care about to the call next week. And they don't have to just be people with diabetes. They come here and we can help them no matter what they do. But diabetes is a core, of many problems. 130 million people in the United States that are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And some people are pre-diabetic and they don't even know it. So invite anyone that you care about to this discussion next week, and we'll do everything that we can to help them. Okay, so for the record, once again, my name is Jonathan Jones, and it's been my pleasure and privilege to have been your host and moderator for the afternoon. Once again, keep in mind, folks, that testimonials are purely anecdotal. You don't know the clinical circumstances around the benefits that individuals have received or any claims that they have personally made about how a natural product helped them. And we make no medical claims. And if we have given you any impression that a natural product can treat or cure a disease, I retract the statements. If you want any of the information that we have shared with you that's part of public record, just feel free to send an email. You can visit us at the website, healthcaresupport.org. We'll be happy to share with you any of the information that we have that may help you in making a decision about your health and wellness. We highly recommend that you seek the competent medical advice of professionals that you trust when it comes to making decisions about your health and well-being. Thank you, folks, very much for joining us. We'll see you next week. Any who would like to stay for a few minutes and talk about the business, then you're more than welcome to stay on the line now. For all the rest of you, though, we'll see you next Saturday, folks, at 4 o'clock. Have a good day, everyone.